FraudTax Audio, your number one podcast dedicated to the facts. This is William Tyrone Toms.
That's it, man. We here. That's
right.
me.
Sitting here with Diego, co-host. I'm Brent Williams, as you know. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. You know
Thank you for coming on.
No doubt. It's a beautiful day in Philly. Feeling good. And you guys treated me nice with the rum, so
yes,
it's a good vibe.
I'm an established rum drinker, so anytime that I bring rum through the building, you got to make sure you take care.
Right.
Take care.
It's a learning moment for all of us.
We're gonna get on our Captain Jack Sparrow right now. Okay?
Let's go.
Hell yeah! So let's get started. This is tell me about your day to day. So what goes on for you? I know you're a busy man in the city, kind of making a lot of things happen and talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what's your day to day like? Is it a scheduled type thing, or do you have or you just like, oh, I know I need to do this stuff and let's make it happen? Like what?
Yeah. So I used to want to believe that I was that kind of person, the latter, where I could be like, I know what I got to get done. Nah. Like I think at this point of my game, everything is scheduled for me. I'm the kind of person where like if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So I wake up and it's like, all right, how do I move the business forward today? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, wake up, there's a certain number of like team meetings that are on the calendar, just making sure I'm checking in with, the different departments of our company. We have a lot of talented staff. So it's like, how do I just check in and make sure things are moving, the way they should, and I can support our team in whatever way I can. And then usually there's a few external meetings as well. Right now it's important for us as we're growing to like have the right partnerships and things like that. So interfacing with a lot of brands and other companies just to make sure we have the right partnerships and the right relationships to get done what we need to. And then even just trying to carve out the time for myself. I've been in a season of just like trying to find better balance. So like when I say I have to schedule everything, like that also includes even the me time.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
Like the time to like chill. I have to schedule the time to like read, or what I just call like my studio time.
Okay.
Right? Like I'm not getting in the booth, but like my studio time is like, when am I working on the William Tyrone Toms branded content?
Okay.
Whether that's music videos or writing. But yeah, if it's not on the calendar, it's not gonna happen.
Okay. Hell yeah, man. Do you find that it's challenging to like? So you like what your position in Rec Philly? We'll get into like what Rec Philly is and like how vast it is and what you guys all do. But like right now, like your position, like does it involve talking to a lot of you talk to a lot of creatives? Yeah,
man. Yeah. So my role is I'm one of the co-founders. I have one business partner. My business partner Dave. Shout out Dave Silver. But as co-founder and chief creative officer, essentially I'm in charge of the product, right? So for me to make sure I'm building a good product, I'm interfacing with, my homies and our members, and those are all creatives. So creatives are all levels too, right? The folks that are like just starting out and they have a certain set of needs, but I'm also talking to the more established creatives that are like, yo, I'm full-time now. I'm only creating, right? So yeah, I'd say
you have to be like an amalgam to like all these different types of people, like trying to
1,000%.
Yeah,
1,000%. I'd say I spend probably like 70% of my time with creative people, 30% just like straight business people.
Okay.
Just because we gotta get the resources we need to bring it back.
Right.
But yeah, I've definitely found myself excelling in this people-facing role, you know what I'm saying? Because like I grew up in an environment where it was just like I had to be able to adapt and blend, and I think that's played really well into what my role is for the business now. Because it's, I always tell people like certain days of my life, like I've started my day at Comcast in the morning, talking about a deal that we're working on for our agency, and then I've ended it uptown with Grams, you know what I'm saying? So like not everyone can do that, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, it's just like I think I've put myself in the right position to be successful because I know that's my skill set and my gift.
So where are you from? I'm sorry.
So originally my family's from Germantown, so uptown, Wayne Avenue. And then I spent a lot of my life there. I spent a lot of my life in like the Frankfurt area where I went to church and had a lot of kind of family in that region. And then I went to high school just north of the city. So I went to high school in Bucks County, William Tennant High School, which is where I met two of my, best friends, Dave and Leonzo.
Your business partner?
Yeah, Dave, my business partner. We've been homies since like 10th grade.
Oh, that's crazy.
Also met my boy Leonzo, who is the founder and CEO of a company called Global Village.
Yeah.
They do some phenomenal things in the city. If you haven't heard of them, check them out. But yeah, I was fortunate to go and study there, got connected to those two dudes, and then after I went away to college, came back and been in the city, living in North Philly for about I don't know, last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Nice.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to IUP.
What?
Yeah.
You went to IUP?
Yeah, man, it's funny because like
The
everybody
beast from the east.
I've been to IUP,
and it's crazy because like our business has like a lot of ties to Temple University, and like we started really in the basements of some of those spots on Temple campus. People just want to assume I went there, but I guess I have this like honorary degree, but I did not go there. I went to IUP. Had a grand old time out there doing what IUP students do. Made the most of that, and then came back to Philly after that ran its course.
Nice.
And
Did you do anything at IUP? Is that where did you start out like doing shows or anything up there?
Yeah, man,
Did you have,
that's
like,
absolutely. So when I was out there, I kind of like to explain it in this way. Like I feel like I lived like 3 lives when I was at IUP, bro. Like. One of which super involved in just like school, and I was just on my grind, right? You know, Dean's List, you know what I'm saying? Back to back out there. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Educated black
had to uphold that scholarship, you know what I'm saying? But I did that, and then I was super involved in like the TV studio. So for me, I was directing, producing TV shows. I knew that I was going to go into like media for whatever that looked like, and then I ended up doing that. And then third, I was super involved in like the social life for me at that time, fraternity life. You know, I did that whole live in the fraternity house, you know, for a couple of years.
What'd you pledge?
Yeah, I pledged Phi Kappa Psi, which is a super dope fraternity. It's partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of America, which is, you know, near and dear to me as far as like the philanthropy side. I had a great time. Again, I got to kind of throw that in there.
Let them know.
And then through all those things, through the Boys and Girls Club relationship, it was always important for the fraternity to be like, okay, what are we doing to give back? So for me, it was like, yo, I get it. We're always getting drunk as can be in this fraternity basement. Had that whole $1 million house, right? 20 bedrooms. But it was like, yo, in our basement is a 400 to 500 person venue if we make it that. So I started off just like throwing shows there. And, you know, always had creative friends. So even in college, it was like, yo, Leonzo, come up here, let's perform for the show that I'm about to put together. You know, it's like, yo, there's mad poets, there's mad R&B artists, there's mad hip-hop artists at IUP. So let's just, you know, create a platform in the basement for us to just enjoy music. So I was doing that at IUP, you know, simultaneously Dave's doing that at Temple. And, you know, we're going back and forth. He's coming to visit me, I'm going to visit him. And at a point in time, it was just like, all right, like, let's keep doing what we're doing as far as empowering the creatives around us, but let's try to make that a little bit more legitimate than just the fraternity basement.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I think that's probably like one of the biggest struggles anybody out here like doing like events or like parties. It's like I don't want to be just throwing parties in this weird little area.
Right.
I want it to look dope doing it. You know, I want it to be legit. Like I want people in here Louis Vuittons, you know, eventually.
Exactly.
Like,
and then even once you have, like, it looks legit and you're doing something, then it's like, okay, how do you take all of this and then quantify it and then do something good about it, do something constructive, you know what I'm saying? Pushing not, you know what I'm saying, not only just pushing your product or what it is that you're doing and commodifying yourself, but pushing an agenda and having that agenda be positive.
That's at the heart of it all, man. Like, you know, as an entrepreneur, I think like most people have come across this video on YouTube. Simon Sinek, he has this video. It's called "Start with Why," right? And like that idea of like before you start anything, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, like starting with an ethos. Like before you want to go and create some cool shit, why? You know what I'm saying? Like where are you creating from? Like what is that place you're creating from? Because I think if we're honest about it, like we all start creating to fill a void, right? Personally. And then if you're brave enough, it's like, okay, I've done this for myself, and now I want to go and share this with other people who I can help fill that same void, not because I think I know what's good for them, but because I know what was good for me, and I think I resonate with who they are, therefore it might also be good for them. So, like, you know, for me personally, like, my business started off because I solved my own problem, right? I was, like, playing this pseudo-management role for, you know, my friends that were hip-hop artists, just trying to figure it the fuck out.
Right.
And I think I ran into all the same issues that other creators ran into. Yo, I don't have the resources to keep spending $100 an hour at Milk Boy, right? Like, I don't got nobody who could tell me how to build this business because I knew nobody in my family ever built an entertainment business. Like, and of course, like, we know that the independent shit is possible, but like, outside of Chance the Rapper telling us it's possible, like, how does it actually work? You know, our school, you know, if you go to a university, they're not teaching you what that looks like. They don't know because they're learning Instagram at the same time we're learning Instagram. And then lastly, you know, when I got back to the city after IUP, it was just like, I've always been this like social butterfly, right? Like I've always been able to go into any of these circles and just move around because I'm just a good dude, and you know, I think people notice that. But I realized that like those different circles weren't always communicating with each other. So like everything was super siloed, and for me it was just like, yo, like there's resources that this pocket has that these guys need, but because they're not talking, they're not communicating, no one has everything they need.
There's that artist resistance, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
where
they're like, oh, I'm an artist and I need to do this, and then like another guy's like, I need to do this, and we need to have somebody to talk to people for us, you know what I mean? So man. that's dead on. That's actually pretty dead on, right?
And for me, it was like, okay, well, those are the things, the resources, the strategies, and then like, you know, that community, which then breeds opportunity. It was like, okay, well, I guess really I started with a question. It was like, could a more equitable system exist? Is there a better way for artists to do it and not believe this idea that like you got to go to New York, or you got to go to LA, you got to move to Atlanta?
That's a big thing I say all the time. I was like, why not here? Like I know that okay, LA, DC, like blah blah blah. Why not here? You know, like
hell yeah.
Isn't it part of like having that mentality that like where you are and what you're doing and what your friends are doing is probably like the dopest stuff that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Like starting with that, like answer that question, and then being like, okay, like if we have the best platform, if we're doing the dopest stuff, how about everybody in the city be doing the dopest stuff? That's when you get like a renaissance, right?
And see, I mean, I love that idea because like I totally believe that, but I think, you know, for some reason, not for some reason, because I kind of have an understanding of why, but a lot of people aren't at that point where they really, really can like believe that, which means you believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I get it. We're up against a shit ton of external forces out here,
the least.
right? But it starts with that like almost ridiculous self-confidence of being like, yo, I have this idea and like I can make it happen. You know, my boy Tim, he always says, just because you move to Atlanta don't mean your music's gonna be hotter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, just know if you really believe in your music, you can put it on the internet from anywhere. So if people fucking resonate with it, like you can just build around that. So yeah, I mean, I think it starts with just having that like confidence of like, yo, what I have right here is it. And if I do it the right way and I learn something about marketing, I'm going to have the people who believe what I believe attract to me.
Right.
You know?
So you guys, so you and David get out of college, you're, pick up back there in the story. I want to know, because I think you were kind of getting at an origin story a little bit, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So I get out of IUP, come back to the city. This is like 2013. Move back to Philly. Right away, I was pretty blessed to like fall. Well, first I had a little part-time job. I was working at like Chickies and Pete's, you know what I'm saying, just to like make bread. But right away, started building Broad Street Music Group, which was our first company. And it was a production company. It was like, yo, I literally can't get my homies to get on the TLA opening slots, so therefore we're gonna just start throwing shows in Dave's Fraternity Basement. Then we're gonna start throwing shows at the Arts Garage, a venue that doesn't even exist anymore. We're gonna start going to Dobbs,
Dobbs,
right? Don't exist anymore. And we're doing all this, and then I got recruited to work for an agency called Fame House, which is agency built by a couple former Drexel students. They do digital strategy at the highest level, man. Like when I was there, I was able to walk into crazy client roster like Ice Cube, Eminem, Shady Records. And at this point, I'm probably, like 21, 22? And they just saw what I was doing with Broad Street Music Group, the understanding of digital strategy, marketing. And then they fucking just were brave enough to just teach me the rest. They were just like, yo, here's what we know. But the funny thing is, back in 2013, we're all learning Instagram together. You know what I'm saying? Like, my boss had just
exponential curve of all of that shit happening.
Straight up.
It's about to change up now.
Exactly. Again, right? So that's kind of, you know, where my background started. I got all this interfacing with these high-level entertainment brands. And by working with Eminem and by working with Ice Cube, I think I learned, like, a couple really valuable lessons. I learned the importance of consistency, right? And like not consistency in the sense of like time, like doing the same thing over and over again, but consistency in like messaging, right? So for example, like I was working with Eminem and like back then, 2013, Twitter, Eminem was one of the first people who didn't follow anybody. Right? He had
That's
zero.
Such a wave. That, you know what I'm saying? So you got like one follower. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's like, all right, bro.
Yeah.
You clouded, huh?
And because of that, it's like, you know, the reason why that was a thing for M was like, because of who Eminem is, our fans would feel weird if he was following 800 people and some of them didn't make sense for his brand, right? So it was like, okay, let's understand who this person is, who this brand is at its core, and then how many different ways can we communicate that message? Therefore, Eminem shouldn't be following anybody, right? So I learned that, and I learned that when you build with that level of consistency, you can build trust. And if you build trust with your audience, you can literally build revenue streams that you'll never imagine. We sold bricks to Eminem's studio that it caught on fire or flooded or something, I forget. People were buying the bricks of the studio because that meant so much to them, right? So quickly, man, you know, and I say all that to say, I learned how you could build brand and how you could build trust at the highest level. And then I was just like, yo, this is the shit I've always been trying to figure out with me and my homies, you know, where we're trying to figure out why these records aren't sticking, right? Or why people aren't coming out to the shows as much as they should be. And then I got to a space where it was just like building Broad Street Music Group, literally on I'm at Fame House 8 to 5, 8 to 6, and then I was building Broad Street Music Group literally from 6 to like 2 a.m.
Okay.
Hustling.
And I got to a point where we threw our first South by show, and we can talk about that later if you'd like. But we threw that first South by show, came back to Philly. Fame House pretty much gave me the ultimatum. They were just like, yo, we got a new client coming through. We want you to take it. People started getting raises, and they're just like, yo, we want you to go here. And I'm kind of like, I'm good where I'm at. I'm kind of good. You knew I was doing this entrepreneurship when we met. So that was a really easy decision for me to make. But I was blessed because I got to take everything I learned there and then just apply it to the people that I fuck with. You know what I'm saying?
Bring it home.
You could even went like the opposite way and be like, man, I don't even fuck with this and do like mediocre work, you know, and then not been able to take something somewhere else. But then like you were like, did like the thorough, you know, part of that.
That's just
that's a hard thing for people to know nowadays.
That's just not who I am though, bro. Like one thing I really learned to appreciate about myself is I'm a nerd, man. Like I love to learn. And like, I don't know, not everyone has that bone in their body, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I love that shit. So like when I'm in a space where I can absorb the information from these people that have been doing this for more years than me, they've had so much more experience. I'm like, let me soak up game. I'd be a fool to not like show up and show out with that.
Exactly, not listen at least. You know, be a fly
like,
on the wall.
People almost kind of like twist that, like, because like everyone's like an artist nowadays, right? And I'm gonna get into your artistry because I know you do some things yourself. But people like to go into like the workplace, be it whatever, and be like, oh, I'm an artist, and you're talking about maintaining an authenticity where it's like, oh, like I need to like if Eminem has like is following these people on this, he wouldn't like that wouldn't make sense to blah blah. So artists like have this natural like, okay, I need to maintain face as an artist in my personality even while I'm at work. You know what I mean? And I can't like you know like go and talk to this and do that because I need to be this. And it's like you still got to be able to go somewhere where you're not fully doing what you're like. You know what your thing is, and still kind of like soak up knowledge, soak up game. And that's like, how important is that? Like,
and so for me, I think that's super important because of this thing. It's just like to me, everything is connected, right? So like, I put it this way: like, there's things that you'll learn. Like, you know, when I got the chance to work at like Chickies and Pete's, and I was like a server and doing all these things, there are some of the most valuable lessons I learned in the service industry that are the same as like working with clients today, right? Like, if you're doing a service, whether that's fucking throwing a show for a client or making somebody's order, those fundamental human things are the same, right? And some people are like, I guess sometimes too good, or their ego is just in a crazy place where they're not willing to be like, here's my role in this arena. And I'm going to abide by these things while I'm here, right? Like, you know, that's how I look at it, man. I think it's important to understand, like, you can learn something from anywhere. You know what I mean? And if you don't have that mentality, you're going to miss out on a lot of great lessons. But I have to also say this thing, too. It's like, when you are an artist and you have to do a job that may not be what you want it to be, there's two perspectives. There's, yo, I'm going to get something out of this and then I'm going to move on and just fuel and invest in my passion. Or two, you just completely put the face on. And you're no longer you when you walk in that room, right? And then you kind of pick the face back up when you leave. I think it's important to do our best to not put ourselves in situations to do that. Because that shit'll eat at your soul, man. And then all of a sudden, you don't even have the creative mojo when you get home no more because you just got done
trading. It's like imposter syndrome. It's like, am I really this anymore? You know what I'm saying? It's like you've been doing something for so long that that you just almost end up getting Stockholmed into believing that like
up,
this is, you know what I'm saying, that like that is you, and like people are around you and treating you different based on a certain type of energy that like you put out into the universe.
Man.
Right.
And I'm the best example of that, man. Like when I was younger, like I used to brag, yo, my code switching ability is crazy. Like I could walk in this room and but it's just like, yo, at some point, like even I was saying how I lived 3 lives in college, like I had to learn over time, like, nah, this shit all gotta be one for me to be able to be at optimal performance.
You gotta
You
be
know
the
what I'm
Camaro.
saying?
Yeah,
You gotta do it, man. So,
exactly. Yeah.
So you've been a creative kid since the get-go, right? Like, what's
Get-go, bro.
your bag? What do you do?
My bag. So the bag started with poetry, man.
Okay.
When I was
Nice.
super young, that was my
That's really
outlet.
common. I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I
yeah.
feel like a lot of times people look back, it's like, oh yeah, I wrote this shit in 7th grade.
yeah,
You're like,
straight
no, what? Like,
Just some fire.
Yeah, right. I still got my job from 7th grade. I got a whole
book.
But yeah, I think anyone who grew up in Philly or grew up in an inner city or anywhere, really, we go through shit. And I think you gotta get introduced to some medium of an outlet, right? And for me, that started with poetry, just trying to figure out who the fuck I was, trying to make sense of all the shit that I went through as a kid, the things my family was dealing with. So it started with poetry. And then quickly, I got a camera in my hand at school and just fell in love with visual storytelling.
Okay.
Which is still my jam, man. So like whenever I get the opportunity to, I still direct and produce
Okay.
music videos. I did 3 last year, which I'm really proud of.
Okay. Any names that we recognize?
Yeah, probably. Depends
Shout
on
'em out,
who's
shout 'em
listening.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did 3. I did one that was narrative based. I did for my homie Duda. He's a hip hop artist named Duda for real. The other 2 that you might know is I did a lifestyle job for R&B hip hop artist named Ivy Soul.
Okay.
Ivy Soul's fire. The joint was called Roller Coaster. So if you want to go check that out. That was dope. It was like a day in the life of just a Philly vibe. So we
Okay.
brought the bikes out, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
She was on her dancing bag, channeling some Aaliyah vibes. It was dope.
Ivy Soul. You
Soul,
gotta
man.
get what's going on. All right.
And that came out really well, man. So I'm really proud of that project. And then I did more freestyle. Let's just have fun with and really push the visual effects. And that was for a hip hop artist who I believe is the best rapper in the world. His name's Sean Smith.
Okay.
Right out of from here in Philly, used to go by Young Savage.
in Philly.
Yeah,
write him
man.
down, man.
Sean Smith, bro.
We'll get him in here.
Sean Smith used to be Young Savage. So if you grew up how I grew up watching Joey Jihad and Reed Dollars,
Okay.
like Young Savage was that young buck, 13, 14, 15, spitting with the Meeks of the world. And he's transitioned now and goes by, his actual name. And I think bar for bar, he's the best rapper out, bro.
Okay.
And I think Philly has the best rappers, regardless. So
They get that grit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it,
And I feel like it's a good juxtaposition, even to do an aside. Like you see some of the artists that were coming out. Like I was sitting in a basement yesterday, just looking at Tierra Whack, like the freestyle that she had done recently.
beast.
And just like the type of artists that come out of Philly. You see this really interesting dichotomy between the battle rap and the Philly art nerd kid kind of. You know what I'm saying? Where it's that kind of comes together, and you get this really intricate, talented kind of expression, and that's some people don't get that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times you go out and they're like, "What makes Philly special?" I'm like, "Bro, you just gotta show
It's
me
different.
these venues, man.
You
You
gotta
gotta
see the
see,
flip.
Yeah, because this is a tough city, man. So it's no matter where you fall on that spectrum of what you mentioned, just kind of the hood trap rap shit to the super nerdy, super creative stuff. If you couldn't rap, people gonna let you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure at some point you're just yo, I'm not getting booed at the lunch table, bro. My shit is gonna be fire. But yeah, man. So visual storytelling is always my jam. Did a lot of short films when I was in college, and then just found a passion for the music video tip, and I think that's gonna be something I'm gonna continue to do as I continue to grow as a creative. But I found actually a more recent passion of mine in the creative spectrum, and I think, down the road, I'm really going to start snapping in my architecture bag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the idea of designing.
It's whole spaces.
Yeah, bro. Because,
Yeah.
I've thrown tons of events. I've always been kind of at the event production and not just looking at it yo, I'm going to throw a party, but looking at it yo, I want to create an experience, right? Which I think people are finally waking up to and understanding the importance of experiences. But now I'm realizing the importance of when you design a space that is designed to design experiences, that's the next level, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at now. And as I've been able to do the rec room that we have right now in North Philly, and I'm working on our next project, I just fell in love with the idea of yo, every single thing in an environment can be intentional to drive a feeling, an experience, etc.
Right.
So,
because a lot of that stuff happens at like a subconscious level,
Super.
right?
Yes.
Because it's like that's one of these things that like I feel as though like a lot of people struggle with, right? Like you have order, you have chaos. You can do like a vision board, right? Which is kind of random and it's everywhere. It doesn't have an order. It's not a schedule like you had mentioned before about putting things on a schedule. But like, what does it take? You know what I'm saying? To get people into this like subconscious, like almost like safe environment, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just like I feel as though I can walk in here, drop my book bag, scream like a gorilla, and then sit down and start doing my shit because that's what I need to do to get in my bag.
And I think that's a really great point. One thing I'm going to just challenge that word safe, though.
Okay.
Because I think safe space is like kind of like where we're at language-wise. Someone put me on, though, because I was like, yo, I want to just create a safe space for artists. They were like, nah, we don't really need safe spaces. What we really need are brave spaces. Right?
Okay.
Spaces that you walk into and can bring out that gorilla for real, where it's like, yo, like most parts of the world that you exist in, they're not built for you to be brave and be your best self. They're actually built for you to be the opposite. So it's like, how do we create an environment that encourages people to just be fucking brave and be great? Because I think going back to what you were saying earlier, like, how do you know that what you and your homies are doing is the best shit ever? And it's like, yo, like, there's not many places, especially here in Philly, that encourage you to just fucking be incredible. Because we all are dope. We all have so much value to create and put in the world, but it's like, don't nobody want to see
you get
that.
battered
The
down.
craziest part is like so they won't. There's not a lot of places that allow us to do that, right? But you can go on Instagram, you go on YouTube, you go on Spotify, Netflix. That's where they buy it. They bought it and then they sold it on the platform.
Digitally they like it because they commodified. It's in their hand. It's on the Black Mirror, so
like,
you're allowed to control it and turn it off whenever you want to. But when you actually have
it's not unless you want to leash. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to see you, going viral. Like,
and let's take it.
You
Like,
can't.
and if you take it one step deeper, right, for individuals of our community, people that look like us, people that come from the places that we do, right? Then it's even harder, right? Because when you are brave, it's viewed as something else. And so now people like it's bravery versus complacency almost, where it's like, no, we would much rather see you out in the world complacent. You be brave in your own somewhere else, not in my backyard type shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that even as like members of the Black community, it's important to like instill that, not just for artists and creative, but like especially for members of the Black community, because that's how we grow. That's the language that we speak. You know what I'm saying? That's a soul that runs through our bodies and courses through our veins.
And almost freedom to do that is imperative. It's paramount to have that.
And I think so this is the space. This is the shit I like to talk about all the time, bro. This is what I nerd out on, man. And like, I had a really interesting experience recently over the holiday season. And without going into all those details, I had a crazy epiphany lately. And it was something that I don't know if I learned it for the first time, but I really felt it, right? And I really began to like, I was going to say understand, but I've learned understand, right? When you really, really feel something, there's a crazy connection and relationship between talent and trauma, right? And I think that's why Black people are some of the most talented motherfuckers on the planet, right? Like, from people who can't fucking see but can play the most beautiful music and can learn instruments, even people to... I know that I don't want to get into this tangent, but even the people like R. Kelly who like can't even really read. But this dude is one of the most incredible songwriters and musicians in the planet.
In Japan a lot. They dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and stuff like that. And like the culture and society there is just like
and I mean I'm gonna get on my scientific shit for 1 second, but like that's some shit that exists everywhere from the cellular level on up. Because when you have a kid that's born, there's twins, the smaller one always does better because they had to fight for resources. They had to do it, and you have them literally just growing in front of you, and like this kid's like not on any support, doing fine, goes home, and the other kid's like intubated on a ventilator, all this other shit. Like that stress creates, it's like that
really
trial by fire type shit.
So when you get to a space where you have young people who have seen a lot of shit that they probably shouldn't have seen, right? They've experienced certain shit. If there's two ways to go about it, it's like those things that they've developed as behaviors to survive in these elements, they'll either kill you or they'll get taught how to actually be brave enough to learn how to like figure out who the fuck you are and then leverage those differences as your strengths. Right? So for me, it's like, we got to build the spaces to pull out the fucking X-Men powers that people have. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, there's kids all over that have $1 million ideas. We fucking create dances. We create language. We create all these things that are incredible culture. And it's incredibly valuable, but unfortunately, we get to create it. We'll plant the seeds. We'll grow the trees, but we never get to actually like bear and reap that fruit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we just create that part of it?
Right. And that's why I really like what you're doing be simply because you seem like the guy that can go, like, for the artist who won't talk to anybody, he'll talk to you, and then you go talk to the right people that, you know, and then you create the space. I remember, let me get into this thing. I had one question before I got into this, but I think I'm just going to go into it. Sure. I remember going to Andre Altrash. He brought me to one of your...
Shout out Andre.
Shout out Andre, the homie. He brought me to one of your... I forget what it was.
Like it was a workshop or something?
Was it a workshop? You had like 5 speakers. Yeah.
Tight.
First of all, I was lit.
Shout out to our sponsors. Come through.
Second of all, I wasn't too sold on Rec Philly before I got there, but after I was there and stuff like that, I was pretty sold. I'm like, wow, these guys actually know. This is before I like even started really getting on the mic, talking to people and stuff like that. We were just kind of like, you know, we wanted to do something. We know we were going to fit in. Me and Diego were just talking about like Philly is just like full of crabs and like everyone, no one wants to help anybody.
It's got to be different. There's got to be more than this type shit.
Right.
Yeah,
I go to this thing and first of all, I walk in, everyone's like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do a lot. Like, you know what I mean?
Let me talk about myself.
Let me talk about myself. But everyone's got a thing what they do. And I meet people that want to do stuff and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm like, wow, like everyone here is just like on the shit, communal. Like you got some people up there talking, like that people that I want to sit
valuable information.
Exactly.
Right?
You know, I saw Josh sitting in the corner. I'm like, yo, I'm in the right place. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like you talking about like designing spaces and like, and that was just like, that was just like when you said that, I was like, I remember feeling this when, you know, I remember feeling this when I walked in here. You know, I'm drinking, you know, and I'm just like getting cool. And I'm like, wow, this guy's something he's joined, this guy's joined. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Tell me about Rec Philly, like in the core of, in the heart, and the desire and the progression of like what you guys do. Like, give me, sell us.
I got you. So
everybody that listens to FraudTax needs to know.
Okay, so here's how I look at it, and I'll start kind of on like the simple. Here's how we function, and then I'll talk about like why we function. Right. Yeah. So on the surface of it, man, I like to explain what we've built in our membership program as like a gym membership for creative people.
Okay.
Super simple,
That's
right?
so easy.
Right? You go to the gym because the gym's got the machines for you to get busy on, right? And all those tools. The gym also, if we're going to be honest, gives you that social accountability, right? I show up in the gym.
I set foot in here, man. I gotta
go in, right? Or it's like, yo, I'm trying to kind of cut the corners and I'm being lazy, but then I look over and Bull's putting up 350.
And you're like,
all right, I can do another set, right? But that shit is important. As humans, we gotta see that shit, right? And then lastly, I go to the gym, and if I don't know how to do that workout, there's people there that I can ask because they actually are the trainers, right? They know what's up. So for me, it was like, all right, well, that exists in the fitness space, but like, where do I go if I'm a creative who wants to learn those things? So that's what we're trying to do. And it really just comes from this place of like resource sharing, man. Like, if we're going to be honest, like there's so many of us who can build a studio in our basement or in our bedrooms because the technology is so accessible. But just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Because you might spend your $2,000 to build your shit and it's fire, but it's like, come on, that new red camera is dumb expensive, but you still might want to have access to it, right? Things like that. So we built this hub that is
it's
like...
It's crazy that he said the red camera, too. Like, that's crazy.
But I'm just saying, you know?
But, that red camera is definitely
crazy. It's like the body be like $12K, no batteries, no lenses, right?
You're just like, damn, I got to grind for like 2 more months before I can
crazy.
shoot some shit. Like,
you know? So essentially on the functional level, we operate a membership program. If you believe what we believe, you're on your way to build a business around your art, you want to be a full-time creator and make money doing it, we have the gym for you, right? So that's kind of what we do. The why for me is I see what's happening to our city, right? I see the talent that we have, and I see the lack of spaces for us to grow to be the leaders, the creators, and the fucking economic powerhouses that we should be, because for the last, 50, 60, 70 years, the artists have been so hell-bent on partnering with the labels to then, actually teach them how to monetize the art, and that just breeds so many sacrifices in the creative process.
We've already seen with Lil Uzi and all this. Man. Philly's definitely not in the place to want to ever jump into bed with label. I don't think anytime soon. I think,
Right.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. So, and we've seen what that looks like. So it's like, what would happen if we taught artists these same entrepreneurial principles so they can just manage their businesses for themselves? And I think that's so important because, like, you can't drive through Philly and not see construction sites. There is, without a doubt, our city's changing, whether we like it or not. So the best thing for us to do right now is to say, okay, well, how do we get our shit straight so we can have the coins to fucking participate? So
Yeah,
that way,
ground floor.
Yep. So as the city changes, we actually have a voice in what that looks like. So when your neighborhood is getting gentrified, like it is absolutely gonna, you can actually step the fuck up and be like, I'm buying my mom's crib because I actually have the wherewithal to do it through the shit that I love. So for me, it's how do we teach direct to consumer business principles to creative people, because we've always been gifted at building audiences. We've always been gifted at creating culture. So now, what are the actual strategies and the science of engaging those folks? And what is the science of building the revenue streams so we can make more money? So that way we can monetize our talent for ourselves instead of always needing people who may or may not even look like us to come in and tell us what it's worth. That's the why. So that's it, man. And for me, it's just like, you know, I feel like when I started building this business 4 and 5 years ago, I was thinking a little different. And fuck it, I'll say what it is. I think I was a little ahead of my time, right? When it came to saying, yo, this is what I'm going to build. People are like, oh, it's been tried before and this and that.
That's how you know it's good though, right?
Yeah, right? But it's like, but for real, bro, we've never been at a level of technology where it's been possible, right?
And just
like,
because you've tried something before doesn't mean that it's just like, okay, like you could try and go into space in like 1920, but like not going to happen. Tech isn't there yet, you know? Like,
So for me, it's like, we just built an intentional ass place for one thing to happen, and that's for talented people to build businesses around their talent.
Okay. So tell me, walk me through like a membership sign up form. So I'm signing a form right now. I'm trying to sign up for Rec Philly. I want the benefits. Like, what's the point? What's the price point?
The process. So it's cool, and we're about to get to our new space. We have a current space in North Philly. We're transitioning. You know, we've been super booked up with studio time, doing over 100 hours a week in our studios. So we're getting ready to build a 10,000 square foot space downtown. I'm really excited about that.
I remember you launched that. You launched that point when I was there.
At the Citywide, I mentioned it. Yeah, man. And just so you know, we have another Citywide coming up. It's going to be July 25th.
Okay, I'm there.
If you're listening to this, come out, do the thing. It's going to be fire. But essentially, I really want to make sure that as we grow, I want to keep the program and the benefits accessible, right? Like, a whole shit is about making entrepreneurship accessible to us. So $50 a month gets you a membership. With that $50, unlimited access to our co-working space. Come in, be in the energy, be in the people who are building the same things that you're building from a different angle, right? Go get connected to that videographer, get connected to these people. And then if you're like, yo, I need a little bit more than that, we also have higher level packages that also give you unlimited access to co-working, but also tons of time in our studio. Right. So essentially we operate on like this credit system. Different levels of membership give you different amount of credits, and then use those credits, think about them as hours in studio spaces.
Got it.
Right. Come in, $50 a month. That'll give you 4 hours in the studio that month, complimentary. Then you can just get more.
I'm trying to find something to object to. I can't.
No, it's too thorough, man.
I can't. I'm trying to.
You know what?
I can't find it.
And it's crazy, man. And like when you really dig into the program, like underneath it, like the benefits are crazy, bro. Like I literally just built the shit that I always wanted. So for example, I know you've been in a situation where as a musician or as a performer, you had a show, last second your videographer bailed on you, right? You're like, yo, where's my you know? So literally I built a directory where all of our members, we have hundreds of members, are all in there. So you're like, yo, I don't have a videographer. Yo, there's 40 videographers right here, and you can literally click their portfolios, see what kind of work they provide, hit them up. Yo, I'm a rec member, this is what I do, yada, yada. And there's already some commonality there, you know? So things like the directory, we have a jobs and opportunity board there. So literally like we're at a space where a lot of gigs come across our desk. Yo, I don't want to take this videography gig, but I know there's videographers in my program. Put it on the board. If you're a videographer, you'll get a ping, or you can go check the board. There's gigs right there, right? Because 9 times out of 10, if you're a videographer, the only reason you're not getting more gigs is because you don't know the person who needs your work. So boom, we're going to just bring it all right here, centralize that shit. Anyone can have access. So there's things like that. We have educational workshops. We're always talking about.
Like a fraternity.
Bro, it's that. I'm looking to build a culture of productive ass creators, man. And I'm a fraternity guy. I'm a fraternity man. Dave is a fraternity man. So like I can't pretend like we don't have that influence.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. A lot of us couldn't join fraternity. I couldn't join fraternity when I was in the thing.
You couldn't, or you didn't want to?
Nah, I didn't want to. My whole thing was like, I'm not going to pay for friends. But then like, 10 years later, I'm like, damn, I probably should have paid for them. They would pay for me. You know, so it's kind of like you want that community, even if it takes you having to like buy into it a little bit simply because if you want something nice, you want to buy it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's real. Let me speak to that a little bit because I think that idea of like I don't want to pay for my friends, that is super common. A lot of people feel that way, and you have absolutely good reason to feel that way. But I'll just say this quick story. I was in a fraternity at IUP. There was a different fraternity. Our fraternity was at top of the campus, yada yada yada. Had a big nice house. There was what I looked at as like the next dopest John.
Okay.
There was a dude there. We were never friends, but he was also in a fraternity, so we just had a similar experience. I haven't seen the bull 6 years. Ended up getting reconnected on some wild shit. Told him what I was doing. I talked to him. It just so happened to be a month after I started raising our funding round for our new space.
Oh, shit.
Long story short, his dad had been looking for investment opportunities. He ended up writing the first check to invest in Rec Philly because he knew me. He knew what my vision was. He knew that I was throwing shows back then, saw the growth, and was like, yo, this is a no-brainer. So I get the idea of not paying for friends, but what you're really buying into is saying that, like, there's a mindset that I'm going to commit my life to. And when you know that other people are on that same path, there's just so much unspoken commonality that you never even have to talk about, but you know is there, and there's trust built, right? So I think there's just a lot of value in networks like that.
No, I recognize it now because my friends that did join fraternities in college and stuff like that, I see what they're going through and their benefits and stuff like that. And like you just talking about this right here, it's like thing. And I wanted to speak on another point. Like when I was back then making that point, like I didn't want to pay for friends. Like I couldn't pay for friends if I wanted to. You know what I mean? I'm like a broke college freshman. I'm not paying 120 whatever.
Just go right now.
I can't move it into the. You know what I mean? But this is like a $50 a month anybody can do, you know?
Yeah, man.
Fine.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that it's like, even if like you look at it that way and blah, blah, whatever, even like I like mirror that with some of my own experience is that I did create like a group, we all like ate dinner at 5 and we all like kicked it and like went to like this homie's house and it wasn't, it wasn't on the books, in that sense, but that sense of networking and community, because it's like, I used to throw shows in my house,
you know,
and it's like, but it's like, exactly. Like I used to throw shows in my house, but like every job that I've gotten in my professional sector has been from someone that like used to come through the crib, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it's like that connection, and it's like, and there was so much more, because even then it was about like, it wasn't about the parties. Of course the parties are fun, you had a good time, that was the thing to do on a Friday night, but the where it actually existed and where it goes to is that community, is that network, is that trust, because you've gone through and had experiences either directly or co-experiences from afar that you can like reference and say. Like,
and then again, just to add to that, on that level of trust, what I've also noticed is there's a lot of things that happen where like someone will come to me and be like, yo, I need to get connected to a videographer, and then I'll connect them. And I've realized, this was later, kind of down the line, but what I realized is if I connect someone to a collaborator of sorts, when they work with them, they hold themselves to such a higher standard because there's accountability there, right? It's like they don't want to fuck up just the relationship with that one artist per se, but they also don't want to fuck up their relationship with me or with our organization because they know that there's other opportunities
like
that'll come.
people behind you,
right?
They're gonna be like, "Fuck you if you fuck this over," right?
And literally, like, I dig it though. But literally, that's what Uber's built on, right? Like 10 years ago, our parents were telling us, "Don't get in the car with strangers," but now we do that in a heartbeat.
I call a stranger to come to
me. And that's now okay because this platform, Uber, allows you to rate that person and say, hey, this person's good, trust. Right?
It's accountability. And that accountability does create trust.
And for real, a lot of us as creatives, we haven't always come from environments where there's been positive accountability. We don't always know what that looks like. So, I would hope that our product is something that this might be the first experience you get with accountability. And that's great because you need that to fucking win.
Definitely that in the creative sector too, right? Where like there's not a lot. There's just like people moving off their own volition, people like creating experiences and trying to go as hard as possible doing it and stuff like that. And you kind of like you're that middleman that that culminates, that gets that stuff together and shakes it up and puts it in the right place. And not just I'm not going to say you, sorry, Rec Philly, not just you, but your entire team. Like you guys do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I gotta just take this opportunity to just big up my team, bro, because they fucking go hard, man. I think we have some of the most talented folks, in the city, man, and we're all very different and very much so individuals, but when we come together, we just know what we're trying to accomplish, and like everyone is willing just to go the extra mile. You know what I mean? So I'm just super grateful for them. So shout out everybody on the Rec Squad.
Want to say some names?
Shout out everybody. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Dave. Shout out Taylor, shout out Huff, shout out Tim, shout out Scarlett, who is a fucking warrior, yo. She's the head of our membership program, man. She makes sure everyone's loved on, has what they need. Everybody, to our studio team, Justin, Ant, Hakeem, to even our interns, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Layla out here helping with our program and stuff. Man. we got interns. And I'll even, throw the shameless plug. We're actually growing our team, man. So we are hiring. So we're about to hire 4 full-time and 2 part-time employees, man. Recently was just able to give our whole team part-time and full-time benefits, man, which as an entrepreneur is just like
that's huge
milestone, bro. Like, not only are we paying people salaries now finally, but also being like, yo, go ahead and get that dental checkup, bro. You know what I'm saying? Take care of your shit.
That cavity in, bro.
But anyway, I'm ranting a little bit.
Go ahead, man. That's what this is for.
Yeah, okay, fine. Let me talk my shit.
Right. Facts.
Right? But the other thing that I do want to mention just about the rec ecosystem, if you've ever seen our logo, it's a Venn diagram. And for me, what that Venn diagram represents is the bridge between culture and commerce, like art and business. And I really believe that what we're building are the tools that make that intersection, 1, possible, but 2, equitable, right? Because again, it's the same idea when like a brand comes and they say, oh, I need a photographer for this show and I need, some talent. What they do behind the scenes is like they'll go and shop around and pit us against each other, right? They're gonna say, "Oh, well, this photographer said this price, right?" And they just try to like fucking get us to low down. But what we've been able to do is like, when they know that, 1, we have the relationships with creatives and we're gonna manage the projects and there's gonna be a high level of accountability. They found that it makes sense to pay a little bit more to get it done right. And what we do is we have a whole fully functioning creative agency where we throw events, we create content, and we're sourcing all of the talent from our incubator. So all the folks who are part of our membership, I can go out and say, okay, well, I got some of the most talented DJs in the city, and I got the best videographers that are going to capture and tell that story. And that's what happens. So I think a lot of people first get to know Rec because of our events, and that comes from the ones we throw, but also the agency projects. And I think, a lot of people come in because they want to get booked for gigs and things like that. And that can and will happen when you're at that point. But it's just important to mention. So incubator, come sharpen your skills, hit the gym, learn the business, but then also be ready to interface with these brands so you can secure the bags from these companies that need us more than anything.
Right.
So
let me, I want to go back to that gym metaphor real quick, because this is my own, like, being an artist myself, kind of like coming up, refills, coming up and like in Philly a little bit, trying to navigate and stuff like that. I realized that it was very important for me to like come from the grassroots and just do it myself. You know what I mean? Like, Rec Philly is like what you guys offer is, can I please? What you guys offer is like, is amazing, right?
Thank you.
But like, where, like, do you take time out of the day to kind of inspire people to kind of like, look, you still have to be an artist, even though this is the equipment that we're going to, train on. You still need to learn the T5 by Rebel. You still need to realize that blocking is important in videos, and like doing this is like this. You know what I mean? Like, where is there that like that? Because I remember I did a lot of stalking of you on your. I saw like a podcast 101 thing. You know what I mean?
Man. Hell yeah.
You know, I didn't go through any of those things, but I eventually learned trial and error. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's like the importance of educating? Like, was that the same concept as incubating, or?
Yeah. So the way I think about it, just like the gym, you can sign up for the gym and tell all your boys you go to the gym, but if you don't actually go to the gym and put in the work, you're not doing it. You're not gonna get stronger. Right?
You're not gonna go.
You know. So it's wholeheartedly about like what you put into it. You know. And so for me, it's important to make sure that all the tools are accessible, the information is accessible. These industry experts that we bring in to talk about these things that they've done on a high level, they're accessible, but it's up to you to like be there, show up.
Have an open mind.
Have an open mind. Bring the notepad. Be ready to take notes. Be ready to network with people. Like, everything opposite of being in that venue and you're just way too cool to talk to people and all that shit. It's like, yo, leave that shit at the door. This ain't the space for that, right? This is the brave space for you to come in and get what you came for, you know? So essentially we put all that stuff on the table, and then we let the people in the gym do it. You know what I mean? Like, just put in the work. So that's how we like to think about that, man. Because you're only going to get in what you put out.
Right.
Like, that's just the only way it works. There's no shortcut to that. But, you know, the last thing I'll mention on that point is, like, our motto is independent doesn't mean alone, right? Because I think a lot of creatives think, yo, I'm a rapper, I gotta be the rapper, I gotta I shot my own video, I recorded myself, I mastered it, and you know, we joke about it because it's pretty funny, right? When you hear that rapper who's like, me by myself, out here, and to do that out of necessity, I commend it, because no one's gonna do for you what you won't do for yourself. But as soon as you realize that people commit their lives to being good storytellers, they commit their lives to being good photographers, there's a photographer that might be at that same level as you, where you realize if you collaborate, you can both go up. Right? So for me, it's like, how do I design, again, the environment that allows people to come and be like, yo, here's what I got to offer. What do you have? So that way we can all build masterminds, right? Where it's like, yo, I got the fucking sharpest shooter, and then I got this guy who's going to play my management role, and I'm going to just be a great artist. But I challenge people to learn about what a good manager does, learn about what makes a good photo, so that way you can have the language to communicate with these people. Are they doing right by you at a high level, or at least communicate your vision?
Because some people are saying that, like, oh, I do all this stuff because they have that fear of, like, if I outsource this, I'm not going to get the quality point that I want.
Or it's just not going to represent my brand, my idea. You know, it's in here. But I always think, too, that it's, like, crazy. Like, some of my inspirations and my favorite people who have had and run like companies that have been incredibly successful have always so it's like the structure that exists there is a little bit different than what you see like outside, right? Like you could have someone who's just straight up an ideas dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm the dude who thinks outside of the box, who thinks outside of this concept, but I still have a team of engineers who are able to bring this to fruition. A team of fucking directors and everything who can, and then once again you have a great product. Now we have a team of marketers. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's so important, and people don't see that sometimes.
That's why I big up my team, man. You know, and I'm gonna make a point to do this more, because like when you talk about the ideas guy, like that's me, man. Like I'm the visionary. I was like, I see the future. I understand.
You got futurist on your Instagram thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love
saw
futurism,
it, bro.
I
saw the future, and I was like, listen, I understand that resource sharing just destroyed the transportation industry, because Uber was able to get in there, own no cars, and destroy that industry. Airbnb, same thing. So I was like, when is that going to come to entertainment, right? Because it was the label system, etc. So for me, it was like, my role is to just make decisions that make sure we stay in accordance to my vision. But I'm not the guy, if you're like, yo, okay, well, what is step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to make sure we're going to stay under budget and on time? That's not my gift.
That's not
you know what I'm saying? And for me, I had the self-awareness to be like, yo, okay, well, I have the ability to go and find a business partner, fortunately, whose gift is that, right? He may not, thrive or even have a want to be like, how do I be as innovative as humanly possible? But he's like, yo, I know how to operate some shit, right? So for me, I was like, all right, cool.
Let's do it.
You fuck with this vision? Bet. Let's
go.
You know what I'm saying? And I think we have to be, more, self-aware to admit, yo, Will, you're taking way too long to answer these emails, right? My boy Dave loves answering emails. Always, you know what I mean? And
that's somebody you need in a team. Somebody who likes to answer emails.
Loves
just like,
and I even learned, and just by him being around, again, that gym mindset, when I see him in the studio fucking at 8 p.m. going in, bro, like, I feel like a sucker if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna call it a night.
Bro, I'm gonna go watch Game of Thrones.
I like that. I like that part of it, because I can't leave the studio. I can't leave anywhere if someone else is going hard.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I'm like, all right, maybe I should stay a couple more hours.
I got another hour in me, So it's shit like that, man. Having the self-awareness to do that, and then I'm gonna take it here too, because I think one of the biggest problems. I don't want to call it a problem, but one of the biggest challenges that I think we share as, one, creative people, and two, just people of color, right? People who look like us. I can't speak for everyone, but I know I come from a community where we didn't always know what real leadership looked like. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a real way, where people were willing to be like, yo, here's what it is. Let me give you the game. Let me show you what's right. Let me show you what's wrong. Let me show you the vision for the future and give you the tools to actually enact it, right? Like, I didn't grow up with my pop, right, in the household, so it was just like, I figured that shit out by bumping my head. I think a lot of times what happens is, as creatives, we're not educated enough on what it looks like to be a real leader, and we don't build those chops of leadership, and then we wonder why we're having trouble building teams. Because we don't know what it actually looks like and feels like to be a part of a team, much less lead one. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, I've learned over these past couple years that one, my company will never be more successful than my level of leadership.
Right.
So if we're staggering out and we're having the same issues, it's because I'm failing as a leader. And I had to really eat that and be like, all right, well, just like there's classes for fucking cooking, there's classes for fucking everything.
All of it.
There's professional development for leadership. You know what I'm saying? And like I went through, you know, leadership training and like fucking blew my mind at one, how naturally gifted I was at being a leader, but then two, at how much further I could go if I actually studied the shit.
Did you feel like you didn't need to go before you went in? Did you feel like I don't need to?
Yes,
there was a little bit in me, bro. The ego was like, man, I'm good.
Right here, yeah, like.
But bro, when I walked out of that first weekend, it was just like, where the fuck has this been all my life? You know what I'm saying? So I'd say that, man. Like, entrepreneurship is the sexy version of just leadership. That's it. And if you can become a leader, which means figure out your shit, clarify your vision, write that shit down, learn how to be a good communicator, empower people, motivate people, and then they all can huddle around that same North Star. That's the only way, bro.
That's fucking gold right there.
You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
I want to ask you what your influences were, but I kind of want to go into Amplify Philly too. So,
those are very different. Let's start with the influences, and then we'll swing back. My influences, man. So I have two kinds of influences. I had the influences of what the fuck not to do, you know, fortunately, and I look at that as a fortunate thing. And then I had the people that I kind of made my role models that I never got a chance to meet, but I could just kind of model my moves after that. So the first kind of influences I had, man, I come from Germantown, and like if you know anything about that neighborhood, man, it's just like a tough part of town. And like I saw what it looked like to have a mother who was addicted to drugs, right? I saw what it looked like to have a pop who's now doing a 30 to 60. Like I saw what it looked like to have an uncle who's doing life. Like, so I had those role models of like, here's where I don't want to go.
This is what I don't want to do. That's very real.
And 9 times out of 10, before you actually know what you want to do and who you want to be, it's easier to figure out what you don't want. So at an early age, I was just like, damn. And I know that the fact that and I don't know, I was a nerd. So as a kid, I could tell, like, yo, the fact that my pop and my mom and the situation they're in, that shit ain't by accident, it's by design. So therefore, I could design my life in a way that could not be that. So I love school, all that type of shit.
Drink to that.
You know what I'm saying? I'll definitely drink to that. And then on the flip side, I was like, all right, well, who has what I want? Because of the power of media and TV, I was like, damn, what Russell Simmons does looks mad fly to me. He's around creative people. He's empowering them. He's turning people into millionaires. Master P, turning people into millionaires. Diddy, and say what you want about Diddy, but like Diddy made some millionaires. They didn't all learn how to keep it, but he made some millionaires. You know what I'm saying?
You got to get him there. Yeah, I can't spend the money for you. Yeah,
real shit. So like that, those were my mentors, man. And then outside of just the music and entertainment space, I also fell in love with the idea of what people like, you know, the fucking Mark Zuckerbergs were able to accomplish, like the people like the Steve Jobs of the world. Like, you can't even, people don't even fathom like what it looks like to create impact on that level. You change people's day-to-day behavior, how they operate
with the product.
With the product, bro. So yeah, those were some of my influences, and just figuring that shit out. Like, who has what I want? First, you gotta know what you want, but who has that, and then, you know, go in that direction. Right. So yeah, those are my influences.
Oh yeah, I remember you earlier in the chat. You talked about bringing Lil Uzi somewhere. What's Amplify Philly? What's the takeover model? Like, let me get my pen, because I know.
Take a couple notes here.
So you're going to take it here, here, and here, and how exactly are you going to do it?
That's funny. So Amplify Philly is an initiative that was created by a couple handfuls of leaders in Philadelphia who said, yo, what we're doing in Philly is dope, but we realized that one thing about Philadelphians, and if you're from Philly, you can attest, we have this like self-deprecating energy. Like, everyone loves Philly except for Philly people, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where it was like, yo, we're doing mad dope shit in Philly, but people just don't know about it. So it was like, how do we create an organization that's purpose was to go out and essentially just put Philly on the world stage and just show people what we have that we should be proud of in arts community, in the business community, in the tech community specifically. So long story short, back in, was this 2014, Dave and I partnered up with another organization called What Scene. Shout out to them. And we threw our first show at South by Southwest. Did that show. It was co-headlined by Lil Uzi and Freeway. So for us, it was the symbol of like passing of the torch from the old guard to the new guard on that set. You know, where
that's awesome.
bro.
I wish I was
showing right?
Bro, and that's the shit we've been on.
And then 2014 Uzi,
2014
like I would.
Uzi, that's like,
Bro, if I told you what I paid Uzi in 2014, you'd be like, yo, ain't no way you get away with that now.
you got like the cash out receipt on
Yeah,
the wall.
yeah.
I might have to dig that up, bro. Probably hit him with the PayPal. Shit. But we did that in 2014, and then when the city decided that they wanted to do this initiative to build Amplify Philly, they didn't know what it was called at that time. They sent out an email blast and was like, yo, who needs to be involved in this? And I guess our organization's name got brought up. They reached out to Dave, my business partner, and was like, yo, we heard you just did something for Philly. We were literally the first official Philadelphia showcase at South by Southwest at that time. Wow. I was 22, 23, right? And we're like, we shouldn't have been the ones to do this, but no one else did, so fuck it, we'll do it. And then they were like, yo, what do you know about this? Who wants to lead this charge of South by Southwest experience? And Dave was just wild enough to be like, fuck it, I'll do it. He was the youngest person in the room by a couple decades, you know what I'm saying? And they were like, fuck it, none of us have been to South by, none of us have thrown an event at South by, so we'll just let you guys lead. Dave ran point on it, so now Amplify Philly is this public-private partnership, aka there's nonprofits and there's government organizations involved. The city itself actually backs it and puts some money up.
So you're not getting shut down by cops?
Nah, we're not gonna get shut down. You know what I'm saying?
I got papers, man. I got my certs, bro.
You got mayor, you got councilmen that pull up and shit. We good. And then we also have, a lot of funds raised through the private companies. The Temple Universities of the world will put money up. The Independence Blue Cross, the Comcast, because they all have a stake in wanting our city to look great on the national level. So that's what Amplify Philly is. So it really started in South by after we did our own private thing for Broad Street Music Group in 2014. Then Amplify Philly became the next year after that. And they gave us, over time, just so much freedom because they knew that we had experience. So we're like, fuck it, we're going to book Lil Dicky. We're going to book P&B Rock. We're going to just do what we wanted to do. So we did that, and that grew, and now has legs of its own. We take 300 plus Philadelphians down to Texas every year, and we just throw a party.
That's
fucking
fire,
bring
yo.
cheesesteaks down there, tasty cakes. You know what I'm saying?
Real cheesesteaks.
Yeah, real
Right, that ass. We fly him in. Fly him in.
So like, I'm a transplant. I'm not from Philly. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, what's up, Cleveland?
Yeah.
What's dope?
We've been here for 5 years, but coming into the city, like, there's a lot of people, that come from other places that come here and they kind of want to know how to get in the mix.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What's like not in the mix as far as like, in the mix in every kind of way, creative way. It's just kind of like, I want to go and know people. You know what I mean? What is your advice to anybody that wants to come in and start shaking stuff in Philly?
Yeah. I think my first piece of advice is just show up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people have this mentality of like, yo, I've been here for this long and I do this thing, but no one's booking me or no one's doing this. And it's just like, it's funny. Actually, I literally saw this conversation happen on Twitter yesterday from one of my favorite artists, Jordan Plain, right? So he had a moment where he got up there and was like, yo, I'm tired of being in these art events and no one's asking me to showcase. And then another friend of mine was like, yo, well, of those ones that they didn't ask you to showcase, how many of them you just attended and then told the curator that you had an interest in being a part of it? And Jordan, he's a humble dude. He was like, you know what, 0%. I could do a better job there, right? But that's what it's about. Like, for me, I get the biggest laugh when I meet somebody and the first thing they ask me is, how do I get on the South by Southwest stage? They've never asked about the membership program. Right. They've never come to a free event that we do. Right. And it's like, bro, you didn't even ask me my name. You didn't even say hello. Right. But you want the biggest opportunity that we have.
That's
right?
like the all-faced artist, you know what I mean? Like it's the full-faced artist.
So it's like, yo, just go show up. Be there, right? Be a participant. Big up some people. Show, genuinely, of course. Show love, and then let it be reciprocated. So I think that's the first one. And then give value before you ask for it.
Right.
That's it, man. Like,
that's powerful right there.
I really believe in, Gary Vee is one of these, like, digital mentors of mine, right?
Everybody knows about Gary.
Right? And he talks about the law of the 51%. he says in every relationship, I try to always go the extra mile. So I know in the back of my mind that I've given 51% of the value in the relationship. Because there you have leverage. Right. And not in a conniving way, but it's just like, yo, that person knows I would go very far for them in their best interest. Therefore, if I ever need something, I don't got to feel guilty about asking, yo, bro,
there you go.
I really need you to come out to this John, you know what I mean, do me this solid. Like, and that's how it works. But sometimes I think we get short-sighted and we want to just be takers because we think that everything is scarce. Therefore, if I don't take what I can get, me and my folks won't ever get it. But it's like, no, bro, we're fucking creators. We live in an abundant world, and the more that we give, the more we'll get. Right. And if you don't feel like you're gonna get it, you can create it. Right. Yeah. Might take a longer time, but you can. Right. You know. So
it'll be gold at the end of the day.
That's how I feel about it, man.
What's in the next? So we know what's gonna happen in the next couple years for Rec Philly. In the next 5 years.
Yeah, man.
The next 10 years. What's Rec Philly gonna look like?
10 years.
What's the Rex gonna look like?
I'll tell you straight up, man, and this is what I spent a lot of my time thinking about. But in 10 years, we're gonna have 30 rec rooms across the world.
Okay.
30 different cities. Because for me, it's dope what we've been able to do. You know, we're galvanizing a part of the creative community in Philly. But when our folks have the confidence to say, yo, I'm ready to go on the road, knowing that there's resources there for me, there's like-minded people, and we don't have that, like, iffy, damn, I don't want to be in a van, then try to find a seedy place to record, right?
Yeah, like in the hotel. Shit.
That's the vision, man. So, you know, right now we're about to build our flagship location in Center City, break ground in like 20 days from now. It's just wild. Open up in September, but right after that, it's like perfect the model here in Philly, and then it's we're about to go wreck DC, we're about to go wreck Austin. I'm trying to go wreck Cleveland. I'm trying to go wreck Detroit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So please, and what I'm spending a lot of my time doing now is building relationships with these people that are the Will and Dave and Scarletts of their communities. I'm definitely not trying to go to fucking Tokyo or Shanghai and be like, I'm the creative guy here. Like, what the fuck? Fuck out of here, dickhead. But it's about building those relationships and just saying, yo, I have a model that I think will be valuable to you guys. How do we make this make sense for everybody? Yes, so that's what I want to do. 10 years from now, 30 cities, international network of independent creatives that can collaborate and help us all, build our shit.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Yo, man. This is I wanted to have you on here for like a long time. Like if you look at the list up there, your name's like at the top.
The third
That's
one
fire.
Down. Yeah.
That's fire. Thank you, man.
No, I mean it's just like I remember when I first came to Philly and I was with some guys that I first met. We went to an open mic at somewhere. It was like the Williams Commons or something.
Yeah, we were running that venue for about a year and a half.
Yeah. I went there and they were like, yeah, man, you should join Rec Philly. I'm
you're like, what the fuck's that?
Right? Like this. I'm like, hey, what? Like, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. And then like seeing over time, like how it's grown, how it's built, and kind of bumping into you, and then bumping into like the events, like randomly kind of putting it all together, and be like, man, I need to just interview this guy. Like,
let's do it, right?
I need to just talk to this dude because like it's warming when you have like a sense of community. You can feel like the community like, aspect. You can feel like just like what you showed me earlier. Just kind of that just it inspires the hell out of me, and I'm sure Diego would say the same. Like it's just like everything that we've kind of talked about. But like in like this kind of like vast. Like you seem like you got your shit, right? And I'm like, you're gonna run for mayor or some shit. Like I'm trying to figure out what's next for him. Like I'm
That's
trying
so
to ask
funny.
Take over the city.
On some real shit, bro. There's this book that I've been reading, and at this point I just carry it around with me where I go because I've been learning about architecture. This book taught me that as soon as you start designing spaces, architecture is inherently political. The idea that, and I got to rant for a little bit, the idea that in our neighborhoods there's these sorts of buildings, there's the fucking bandos that don't get ever knocked down, those are political decisions that happen. So when you do the opposite and you want to create a fucking like a space for people to be brave and to do these different things, like...
And this book is towards participation as critical spatial practice.
Yep.
By Marcus...
Cross-benching. Yep, by Marcus, what is that? Meshian. Yeah.
Meshian.
And it's basically a field guide to architecture. And I read the first page one time, and I was just like, oh, shit, I'm an architect.
Right.
And after this, I'll read it to you guys, because I want you guys to hear it. Okay. But essentially, man, I'm learning that if you're trying to create spaces to see cool shit happen, you have to be in politics. And I used to want to run away, like, fuck politics. I don't do politics. But I
just got out of that.
Bro. I learned that, like, that just comes from a place of laziness, man.
Exactly.
People of color don't have a choice to be involved in politics or not.
It's going to affect you regardless,
bro.
It's here.
So you might as well use your voice.
What was that Raj was telling us? He was telling us about this. What was it? Like, in California, they're trying to build this highway. And they decided, because they were getting so much backlash from certain communities, they're like, fuck it, we're going to put it in this predominantly black area because, like, they don't have, like, the access to the information, first of all, to, like, vote against it.
It'll happen underneath. It'll happen when you're working on it.
So it was like, build it in black's backyard. I don't know if it was called Bibby or something like that. Like, the acronym was called Bibby.
That's
it was like, build it in black's backyard. It was crazy because it's like, that's everywhere. Like, I don't know what election everyone's got the I voted sticker for. I don't really, and that's
the primaries.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, but I should know.
You should know. You should know.
Everybody should know.
Everyone
it should be a
know.
widespread thing, right?
Yeah. And we're gonna get there. I think right now, I think personally, consciousness, for our people specifically, but just social, everyone in general, is rising. Like, I think the idea of talking about issues like this is growing, and it's going to continue to grow. Excuse me, but I think the reason why people feel like let's just build it in black people's backyard is because historically we've been so disempowered to think that our voices don't matter.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get someone convinced that their voice don't matter, you got them, because it don't matter.
Yeah.
You do whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
And I think that, like, one thing I've learned on this journey, and I appreciate you saying that what we've been talking about is an inspiration and stuff, and that means a lot to me. The one thing that I really, if nothing else, I want people to take away from this is like, yo, I'm just a kid from Germantown that had an idea and then was willing to do what it takes to, like, bring that to fruition. And I was crazy enough to believe that I actually could. Because, like, that's the reality, bro. We can do anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're the only people who were literally capital before there was capital, right? Because people knew that we were fucking valuable. You know what I'm saying? And I heard that. I heard someone say that at a speaking gig. And it was just like, whoa, that's the realest shit I've ever heard in my life. But the game was to convince us that we weren't inherently valuable.
Right.
So then that
and
way
with the internet,
value
we
us.
now know that we are. And I remember seeing on your Instagram, it was like in 2027, it's gonna be like 50% of the people are gonna are gonna be like freelancers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's gonna be in 2027. There's gonna be more freelancers than there are traditional employees.
Right. I think that's like the lane for black people.
Bro.
Not to makes it about a black, but
No,
like
but it
POC.
is,
I think
like-
it's a lane because, like, honestly, like there's so much culture that we sell already. You know what I mean?
And undervalued.
Undervalued.
Yeah.
Don't even get paid for it half the time.
And I mean, and that's the
what
thing is, though, when you're operating in an inherently racist infrastructure, you have to freelance and make your own lane, because it's like, if you're operating in these systems, in these lanes that were built for someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't operate the way you do, doesn't think the way that you do, you're built to fail.
Right.
And that's institutionalized racism
Straight
rearing its ugly fucking head. So we gotta go on the left side. We gotta go around all that shit.
And to be honest, entrepreneurship is hard as fuck. And it's like the things that are required for entrepreneurship to work, I personally believe that us as people of color are the best equipped people for it. Because we've literally, like they talk about bootstrapping, right? Bootstrapping is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking, be as minimal as possible and like only eat fucking oodles and noodles for this long. Nigga, I grew up like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't scary.
We didn't know how to turn that shit into some
like-
Ichiban and shit. But now,
You know what I'm saying? So it's just
yeah.
like we were fucking ingrained. We were equipped for this, right? So it's like, if anyone can do it, it's us. But we just gotta remind ourselves and our people around us that it's possible.
Right. Oh yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, this was dope, man. I had a good time with y'all.
Right here.
I gotta have you come in and explain like business concepts to like 20 of us.
Down.
It'll be a board meeting.
Down, bro. So I'm gonna have to pick your brain, and I'm not gonna say it that way. I'm gonna have to, treat you to a nice lunch, you know what I mean, and ask you about your experience running the podcast, because that's one thing I want to do soon.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I remember listening to I think you were at Street Department.
Street Department, yeah. That was the first time I said it out loud. Yeah,
and I was like,
It's coming soon.
I'm surprised you don't already have your own podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is
Yeah,
probably,
for all of that, like-
interview everybody in Rec Philly. You already got
Yeah.
like 700 interviews. You know?
I will
you
say,
gotta go out.
You just fold it right.
pre-production
nobody
has
up.
begun.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited, man. It's just going to be something where I just sit with people that, I think are just specialists in anything.
Yeah.
And we just learn out loud together. You know what I'm saying?
Necessary.
and I really want to push that culture of like, yo, let's just learn some shit.
Yeah.
Let's make learning cool. Let's make leadership.
I like
thing
that.
about
I
it is
like
learning
that. Learn
is
out
cool.
loud.
Yeah.
That's something that so many people, you know what I'm saying? It's like, even if you ear hustle some shit that happens over in the corner and you learn something from it, like, I like that. I like that. He says it, write it down. Like, even if you feel like you're stealing it, you're still learning. You know?
Right.
Like, it's still,
You gotta do that. So,
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your experience with the podcast.
Of course.
But yeah, this has been a good time, bro.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Do you have anything? I know you kind of plugged the team earlier. Do you have anything that you want to plug? Tell people how to join up. Anything?
Sure. Let me do that.
Insta,
You know what I'm saying? Let me do my last
bills.
call. You know what I'm saying? So if you like what you heard, you're like, yo, how do I find out more about this? Check us out on the website, recphilly.com, REC Philly. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and all those good social media spots at RecPhilly, REC Philly. My personal Instagram is the Will Toms, Will Toms. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm going to be changing that soon. I'm going to go by my whole name, William Tyrone Toms.
Oh, yeah, Tyrone.
Yeah, I'm saying throw Tyrone in there. But yeah,
Capital T.
You know what I'm saying? But if you look for me, William Tyrone Toms, you will find me. Stay on the lookout for the new podcast. Our space right now is at 9th and Dolphin. Come say what's up. We're going to be expanding soon, so you're going to hear about that in the near future. We're going to be building a 10,000 square foot space in Center City. Come through. Mm-hmm. We are changing the game. We are making history, and let's get this money, man.
Right. Yeah, let's get this
Right.
money.
Hit the gym. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Every way.
Yeah.
That's FraudTax, everybody. Link, like, comment, subscribe somewhere down there.
It's down. I think it's. Is it here? It might be over there. I think it's over. I think it's over there.
Here?
It's over there. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Thanks, man.
This is dope, bro.
Peace, dude.
Thank you. Peace.
Out.